Welcome back to the All You Can Game Buffet Extravaganza. This is episode 75. Woohoo! Took another brief hiatus for me to go on vacation, so I'm all rested up and raring to go.
Why would you do that?
I know. It's what a world we live in.
What did you do for vacation?
I went on a grueling 3-day hike, and I did some work. So for 2 weeks I worked, and then
on your vacation.
I worked. So it's really good. It's good times.
The pitfalls of modern society.
Very restful. Very restful. We got 2 things to talk about. We're going to dive right in because it's the big news, the biggest thing happening right now. I have avoided it so far because I know once I dive into this, I'm never going to play anything else. So let's talk a little bit about Elden Ring. Levi, how's it going?
Elden Ring. Yeah, I downloaded it. I booted it up day one. I didn't stay up till midnight on the 20th because I was just like, there's no way I have the mental capacity for that game. So I waited until the next day and I booted it up. And yeah, the game is absolutely expecting you to be right where you left off in terms of difficulty. It's not like starting fresh and bringing you into it and like coaxing you in. It's like you enter the area and they throw this dude at you in the middle, like as you come out into this like beautiful sort of field and this like perfect vista shot, and you're like, wow, this looks incredible. And just as you would expect. And then you're in like tall grass, and then this thing just comes lurking really fast up the grass. And there's no avoiding him because he sees you right away. And you're essentially introduced to, this is what I'm in for. And he is an absolute brutal enemy that, like, it took all my health away. He took most of my health potions away. I think I came in with like 10 health vials and left with 4 after that encounter. I was like, okay, this game is not messing around.
So they hold your hand right off the cliff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they let go at the last second.
Yeah.
But in terms of visuals, it's just as beautiful. It's super vertical, I've noticed. I've played maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours. I haven't had a ton of time with it yet. But what I have noticed is that it's not particularly wide and vast, but there's stuff so high and there's stuff so low, and it's like I don't know how to get to there, or like everything just daunting, right? And of course there's stuff hidden everywhere, and it's immediately like amazing. And so today I vanquished one of the major bosses. Like I found the first like legendary castle, or what do they call them? They have a certain name, legacy castle, legacy dungeons, right? So I started going through the legacy dungeon, and I got to the boss near the end, and I was proud of myself. It took me 3 tries. Nice. And however, I had to use a summon spirit and a companion. Like the fight is no joke. And the good thing I talked to people too, because I don't know if that person, because there's like an NPC you can summon to help, but like, so make sure you're talking to everybody just like before. And like rule number 1 with Elden Ring and NPCs, when you think they're done talking, they're not. Talk to them again. Like it doesn't just keep coaxing conversation. You have to like ask over and over, and they'll, oh, okay, yes, I will help you. It's like, well, if I didn't stick around and say that the first time, they probably would not have been in that fight. So that was helpful. But I'm clearing out this dungeon, and I'm saved at a pretty decent spot. I just want to jump back in and start crawling through. I found a poison swamp too. Just the worst.
Everybody's favorite.
Just an awful place. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just walking through this poison swamp. And like that, your only option is to walk through the swamp. So yeah, it's classic Elden Ring. I wouldn't want it any other way.
That's funny you mentioned about the NPCs because I definitely missed a bunch of stuff in the base game because I didn't go back and talk to people.
No, I made a mistake
So
and tons of people died, or their quests just disappeared,
yeah,
or they weren't like companions in major fights. Because I was like watching, I'd like go and watch a walkthrough of somebody doing it, and I'd be like, "Why is that wizard there? Like, why are they getting help from that wizard character?" And then it's like, I didn't talk to him enough. I didn't go and just interact with him enough. And I learned that the hard way. So this time around, I'm like, anytime I'm at an NPC, just talk, talk, talk. Don't stop until they do something for you.
I like that you mentioned it's more vertical because they were definitely playing with that idea in the first game too because it's pretty layered, but
It's very
I've heard,
vast.
yeah, I've heard this is also a little bit more like obviously the world's a little bit more compact because it's a DLC, but like everything's a little bit more densely populated, which is
It's
kind of
so
nice.
dense. And I haven't run into anything like um very rarely have I run into the same type of major dudes again. Like there's this like thrall of like just crappy dudes that are like the type that are just sort of like the
Mhm.
mindless shamblers that kind of walk around. They're everywhere and they're their own thing here. But then there are like the next tier up of enemies, and haven't seen too much of them like regurgitating anything so far. And everything is they've all got new moves and they stomp you. A standard knight with a shield, 2 hits and I'm dead.
Wow.
I'm like, holy crap, dude. And then I'm like, yeah, you can be on your horse. So I should be using my horse. I will say one thing they added in the base game with this update is now if people ever struggled with fighting the Elden Beast at the end of the game, number one complaint is he goes too far away. And that fight consists of a lot of running up to Elden Beast to get like 2 hits and run away. You can now summon your horse in that fight,
Oh, that's a
and
game
it
changer.
makes the fight so much more manageable from like getting away from his insane attacks, like his star laser beam attacks, to just closing the gap. So that was a quality of life update that they added, which I think a lot of people are happy about.
I know my cousin is still playing Elden Ring, working her way through, so she'll be happy about that. That was also my biggest complaint for that fight because I would get to, I'd be out of stamina, and I'd be like,
It's so
and then
yeah,
he
it,
just
it
annihilate me.
it became an RNG based scenario because you were like, oh, I hope he pops up next to me. Oh, he goes back under. You're like, well, I hope he's not
Yeah,
across the other side of the room. And then if he is, it's like, well, do I run after him or do I wait for him to drop again and maybe he'll be next to me? So now you can kind of negate that with Torrent.
oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a nice update.
But man, in the short amount of time I've played it, I'm so excited to get back into this game. It's definitely going to be my summer game, I think.
This is not one of those games where I'm like, oh, I'm going to play it. No, I'm actually going to buy this. I'm just giving myself a little more lead time because of a certain other game that we are currently also playing, which I
Yes.
think we can dive into now. But before we actually get to that one, what would you give the interim on Elden Ring? Do you think it's worth the money, worth the DLC price for?
If you're a hardcore Elden Ring fan, there's no way you haven't already bought this. If you're on the fence, truth be told, it's not like gonna ease you into it. It is absolutely expecting you to be at the top of your game from the moment you enter. And that's kind of something people have said is like a reason they don't kind of want to go through it again, because a lot of people are out of step with how it is. So my suggestion would be, if you're on the fence, I don't know, buy it and persevere, because it is truly like today I beat that boss and there was such a great feeling going. I battled him 3 times and each time the battle went progressively better because I learned a bit more. I took it a little bit better, And then I won, and it was like, yes, that feels good. And I know there's going to be like 20, 30 more bosses to do. So I think it's absolutely worth it, but I don't know. It's a hard sell. Interesting fact, it is now the highest rated DLC of all time. It beat out Witcher 3 Blood and Wine, which previously was my like top tier DLC that I thought was it's like its own game. It's like a 40-hour experience, and this is outpacing that in terms of reviews and time. So it's almost like its own game.
Interesting.
Buy it.
Well, I'll be hopping on the bandwagon soon because I had a hell of a time. I put a ton of hours into Elden Ring, and I can't wait to get my ass kicked again and again and again and again. Yep. I know the feeling you're talking about too. When you beat a boss, you're just like, it's just, yes. It's so satisfying.
Yeah, and everything I've encountered that was more than just a minor enemy on the field, it felt good to beat it. And like your health is a sliver, and you're like draining all your health files, but it feels good. And I have had to resort to my cheesy Moonveil samurai sword, and it still works.
It's still going.
However, I'm trying most of my fights with my dual stamina dexterity build, which got me through like 90% of the base game until Millennia, and then I had to like bust out the cheese. But I've had to bust out the cheese already.
Listen, we don't talk about Millennia on this show.
You beat her.
Yeah, but I have memories, and they're not good ones. Well, speaking of satisfying, there's another thing that came out that I think was extremely satisfying, and that is the final shape, the DLC to cap off Destiny's 10-year saga. Now, I find it funny how they're all like, "Oh, it's like the 10-year saga." When I think this is more like the Destiny 2 cap, because Destiny 1, they didn't really have an idea of where they were going with the story.
No.
And it wasn't until Destiny 2 when they're like, okay, this is the arc.
Yeah, they didn't even tease the pyramid ships or the Witness until Destiny 2, right? Yeah, it wasn't until you beat what's his name?
The Red War with Gaul.
You beat Gaul.
Yeah, they show you the ships.
And then post-credit, they showed the ships. So that was where they like introducing the concept. D1 did not have it. It was just the darkness. Such a non-specific.
Yeah. You know what? I'll give them a pass so that they can have their 10-year saga if they want. Because I thought this was a hell of a way to cap the saga off and the story off. They did a great job with the story, which if we were basing how we were feeling about Destiny like 2.5 weeks before we even got this, we were all like, yeah, we're gonna buy it and it's gonna be good and whatever. But like
it was a hard time to be optimistic. It was.
Yeah. Based on Lightfall last year, when everybody was like, man, this story was just so dumb. It was so bad and just badly portrayed. To go from that to this is...
They steered the ship
They
correctly.
Really did. Yeah. They landed that ship on the airfield, if you will, if my analogy is correct. No, but I thought they did an awesome job, especially with Cade. I thought it was going to be like, oh, our buddy's back, and he's hilarious.
Very elegant.
Yeah, and very well done with how they actually wrapped that up. So I'm actually quite happy. We have not played the raid yet. I've dabbled and just looked at it, but
no,
we haven't had a chance to hop in. So
our super awesome team of friends is slow to get there.
Yeah, the climb to getting raid ready is a little bit longer for our group of
I went incredibly hard for the first 3 weeks. I and our other clanmate were pretty much exclusively playing it. You were up there for a bit, and then you went on your silly vacation, and that just kind of ruined the momentum there. However, I played for like 3 weeks straight every night, and so I've done virtually everything that is offered for the final shape, and I will say that the story alone was incredible. It felt like they finally... The amount of cutscenes and dialogue I feel like every expansion we always wanted this much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was always hoping for this much, and we finally got it. And it told a cohesive story arc, and spoilers for the end because it's been almost a month. And if you're a Destiny fan, you've probably played this by now. If not, well, sorry. The final fight where it's a 12-man activity, and you go in with 12 guys, which is it's total madness. But the scene itself that leads into it, where they show every character that's been in the Destiny universe, because it's like the Marvel, it's like Endgame.
Yeah.
Every character shows up, and it just brought a tear to my eye seeing everybody there, and you're like, yes, this feels so good to have every character show up and ready, and even Savathun shows up, like partial bad guy shows up to help. And that scene alone just made it for me. I was like, this is what I've always wanted, and now we're finally getting it after 10 years. So that alone was incredible. And then, yes, Cade's send-off was really nice. They didn't keep him around, and he was a great plot device. I didn't feel like we were chasing a MacGuffin. I feel like this was just going for it near the end and wrapping it up, and they absolutely did an incredible job. And post-game, after the campaign, there's these missions you can do they all take place 3 days before the final mission, and it's all conversations with Cade, and it makes his character even more impactful and kind of sad because it's an old friend who showed up, and they have to go again, and so it is sad, but it is well done.
Yeah, it's a nice way of writing a bittersweet ending. And if the internet is to be believed, I don't know how true this is, but supposedly in that delay, they changed the ending.
There's a scene. You can watch it.
Yeah, so they changed the ending to what it currently is now, and it is definitely much better now.
Yeah.
So kudos to whoever was like, no, we got to change this.
Yeah, there's no impact. I bet you someone was like, because, again, spoilers for what happens throughout the campaign. At one point, Zavala is tempted, and he loses his ghost. And that's a big, impactful thing for Zavala to lose his ghost. He's essentially human again. And then the cutscene that they were going to end with was that we, the Guardian, revived our own ghost and brought him back. And someone was probably like, well, can't Zavala just do that? And then it would have just made the impact completely useless. So they were like, no, it's got to be Cade giving his energy to bring your ghost back. Ghosts can't just come back on a whim, or else all of that would have been plot holes, right?
They did a good job setting that up, too, when they're talking about, like, they kept dropping hints of, like, he's just made of, like, pure light, and, like, he's not actually, like, a guardian anymore, but...
Yeah,
so
he had no ghost, but yeah, he was something else. He was like a weird traveler entity that nobody had seen, right?
Yeah.
But all in all, the story, I think we can both agree, absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
In terms of how they presented the map and how you traversed it, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I've been wanting them to do this forever. I think back when we started talking about Beyond Light on this show, I was like, I'm so sick of the donut design. Like
donut shape,
always a circle. Like,
everything's a donut.
So when they kept saying like, oh, it's a linear design, like I kind of understood what they meant, but now I fully get it because it literally is. You start here and you go over here, like it's a line from A to B, and that gives them so much more.
And the story progressed through.
Yeah, and
each part of the map had a major story beat. And then we got to the end.
Yeah.
And then it was like you knew where you were along the campaign. It wasn't like, you're on this part of the donut. Now you're down here. Now you're over here. And you're back here. Yeah. So very smart. I wish they had landed on that years ago.
Yeah. Because we don't. Do we really need to know, like, oh, okay, we're up here. Now we can go back to here. Like, I don't need a donut. I don't care about running from here to here. Just give me two landing spots.
I think a big reason for that was probably in their design philosophy of how patrols worked and how they wanted you to like interact with the environment. And so they kind of got stuck in a rut in terms of, oh, okay, well, we still need to give them these areas and we need to combine the areas. Whereas this was such a great way of like funneling through this trail almost. It felt like the trail was kind of weaving in and out, and it has its 3 distinct or 4 distinct zones. And I just think, it's unfortunate that it took them so long to come to this design choice, but I'm glad we got, like, in my opinion, the best presented faction.
Yeah, and this is almost, I thought they would have done this with the Savathun's Throne World, but they, again,
another
that's
donut.
Still just kind of donut.
It's a donut with a big side area.
Yeah. I really like that you can stand in the new old tower, which is a weird thing to say, and you can actually look out and you can see the entire destination all the way. So it gives a much more cohesive feeling to like it being like quote unquote open road line. It's not really, but it gives that kind of illusion a little bit more.
Yeah, it makes the destination way more interesting.
Yeah. I think they did a bang up job, and like no one has ever said, "Oh man, Destiny looks so bad." Like the art design is so terrible. No, it's always top notch. Yeah, they did a killer job.
They're the best of the best.
I do have one question for you because you said something which blew my mind one night. I was like, "Oh, what do you think of the music?" Or I said something along those lines, and you said, "Well, I actually turned it on this time."
Yeah, I did like the music. I think, and it matches kind of the mood of what this is. It's like wrapping up the story, and I feel like they really set the bar for matching it cinematically. So I did enjoy the music this time around. There have been other expansions where I felt like it was not very good. Mainly the last expansion to me, I don't know. And like, I don't know if it had to do with the layoffs or if they were changing people around, but I just didn't like any of the music composition the last couple expansions. But this one, I actually really thought it was very, like I said, it matches the environment and it has this sort of, because as you traverse through the Pale Heart, things become distorted and bizarre and uncanny, and the music does these very interesting things, like it swells and then just nothing happens, and you're like, ugh, like everything's meant to like cause sort of unease as you progress further in, and I think they did a really good job of giving you this like weird sensation of the music's doing something and then it's doing nothing and then it's doing something, and like it's like this weird sort of effect.
I'm gonna Levi's review is it's music. I've always been a huge fan of the music, so for me, this is just, I thought it was great. Just capping off a whole bunch of themes. You can hear old Destiny themes in there.
Pull old themes in, and like that's tugging at the nostalgia heartstrings. When you're in the tower for the first time, they're playing the D1 music in the tower, and I was like, this feels pretty good. And so like they were using nostalgia effectively, but to defend myself from my previous statements, like there was just, especially Lightfall felt like wrong on so many levels, and the music didn't hit it for me. And one thing I really love is like the Vex theme music, because it's very like electronic, it's very intense, like almost industrial style DJ music, which I love. So they always knock it out of the park when it's like Vex music for me. But any time that they try and tackle action parts with metal, it's amateur hour. And I just want somebody at Bungie to be like, can we just add more bass pedal? Can we just have more double bass pedal? Like it just needs it. And let's take Sepix. We're getting off topic, but we're talking about it. The Sepix mission. Everyone loved the theme from the original Sepix mission, and it's iconic. The guitarist from the band Periphery, Masha Mansour, made a cover of the Sepix theme because he's a big Destiny fan and he's an incredible metal guitarist, and he redid it. So Bungie hired him and bought his cover, and they put it in the new version. And you can definitely hear how good the production quality is in that second Sepix Prime fight version. It's because they took someone who has real metal knowledge and were like, make us a track or do it the way you think it should be done. And I kind of wish they just approached that with their other tracks. Like, if you're going to do metal, bring somebody in who does metal. And, like, it'll make that more effective. I feel like everything just fell short from, like, and sure, the argument could be like, we don't want it to be too flashy, or we don't want to distract from it. But for me, nothing gets me more pumped than when the music really hits and it's, like, really adds to the environment.
Okay, I hear that, Bungie. That's a note for you for Destiny 3, which is probably coming.
More double bass pedal, hire a metal producer.
Speaking of nostalgia, I want to just touch on, this is a bit of a tangent too, but Bungie likes to do like the nostalgia thing and like the memories and like remember when we did this kind of thing a little bit too early. Because I don't know if you remember getting Kvostov, the gun that you originally get in D1.
Yep.
In Rise of Iron, there's a whole mission where you go get the new exotic version of it in Destiny 1. Mm-hmm. And there's this really nice moment in the Cosmodrome when you're talking to your ghost, and there's this music and the whole thing. And it's just the whole thing. You're like, oh, wow. And he's talking about like, oh, do you remember when we did this? That was 3 years into this franchise, okay?
Yeah.
And they're basically, they're like, oh, remember 2 years ago? And you're like, all right, like, you're a little bit laying this on a bit thick here. It hasn't been that long. If they had done that now, 10 years in, then I would have been like, ooh, getting verklempt here. But they kind of play their hand a little bit too much on the, oh, remember when you did this thing? And now, granted, the whole campaign is a bit of the, hey, remember when you did these? Because it's like supposed to be memory and yada, yada, yada. But hearing that I was getting Kvostov again, I was like, oh my God, but like, come on. That's the third time you're getting this gun. Third time.
Now, with that being said, as someone who has Kvostov, it's an absolute game changer in terms of, he was using it in Crucible too. If you haven't checked the weapon tracker for Trials, guess what the top gun is? It's Kvostov. Because it's absolutely amazing. Sure, they brought it back a third time, but it is now in its ultimate form. It is easily going to be in my inventory at all times. It's an incredible weapon. You're right, though. They should have saved those cutscenes or maybe done something for it, because they don't even have any cutscenes for this gun. This is like you have to work for it, and there's no quest. You just have to figure it out and get it. But it is pretty amazing.
I mean, having said my little complaint, I am one mote of light away from getting this gun. I also discovered a fun thing, which I think is affecting me as a bug, that the meatball...
You need
the
meatball?
I've gotten the meatball, but he didn't drop a mote for me. He has been stealing people's motes, though. Yeah, so
what?
There's a bug where there's a chance where if you get him as the final, if you need him as like the final mote of light, there's a chance he'll steal all of your motes.
Oh my God!
So I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep going until they fix this, because I'm pretty sure
it's not like you can save scum this game and be like, I'll just make a save before the fight.
Yeah,
and then if it doesn't work, I'll reload. No. I was lucky because I needed him as my last mote, and I killed him because our clanmate was like, it's a knockout system. He's guaranteed to show up, so go to the area and do the fight. Okay, great. I went. He showed up. Perfect. Killed him. Got the mote. It went right to the exotic mote of light I needed. Perfect. So I didn't realize that was a thing. That is absolutely brutal.
So I don't want to keep trying at the moment. I as soon as I heard that, I was like, well, I'm done for the day.
Oh, man. Part of you wants to do it.
I'm kind of like, I want to see if it's actually a bug, if it's actually true. But if he steals all of my motes, man, do you know how much work that was to get all those stupid? It's so long.
It's such a tedious quest.
Yeah, I enjoy Overthrow, but I think I might be done with it for a while. It's
yeah. In terms of, let's talk about other changes. So they got rid of the bounty system for the most part.
For some vendors.
For the overall game is now played in this. What do they call it? The Pathfinder.
Pathfinder.
How do you feel about the Pathfinder?
It's the Pathfinder for the Pale Heart destination is great.
It's good.
I don't like that they combined Gambit PvP, like everything into one Pathfinder. Like I don't want.
It's really bad.
I just don't want to do Gambit and like PvP to get a PvE. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I want to do one track, just let me do one track.
Yeah. So I feel like they absolutely boned the Vanguard strike players, the PvP players, and then the Gambit players aren't a thing, so they don't care. But with the Pale Heart, everything you do works towards the goal. It makes sense. You can jump all over the map, do what you need to do. It's a good time. When I'm doing it with Crucible, Strikes, and Gambit, I'll do a Crucible node, and then the next one will be a Gambit node or a Vanguard node. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Also, it messes up your streak bonus. So if you have a 5-streak bonus in Crucible and you're like, I want to just keep playing Crucible, well, if you want to get more experience and you want to complete your Pathfinder, you're going to have to switch to another activity. So then you throw that away. It's counterintuitive. I get that they thought this would be something that's like, make it your own, create your own path to get your weekly pinnacle. But in the end, it constrains you and it's forcing you to do things you don't want to do. And I swear to God, they throw in a sniper one. They're like, get 10 precision sniper kills in Crucible. You're like, no. No, I'll never, ever do that. I don't play snipers. And I don't know. I think they absolutely need to change the Pathfinder or just make a Pathfinder for each vendor.
Yeah. I would have thought they would have done like a system where you have each node is like complete a strike or Crucible, or like there's 3 options.
Sometimes they are combined. Sometimes they are combined activities, but you get the odd one that's like get 10 sniper precision hits in Crucible. You're like, okay, if I don't like Crucible, you just forced me to do an activity I hate. And some people are so adamant they just won't even do it. Right?
Also, the whole idea of like, I don't understand like you can make a line like this through the Pathfinder. No one's gonna do that. I've just gone straight line. I've done like a couple extra when I've completed them on the destination one, but I didn't go out of my way to like make extra, weird paths towards this goal.
I get it. I get that. And like, if you want to go for the pinnacle as fast as possible, it's a very easy thing to do. When I was trying to upgrade my Ghost Vendor, I was doing literally every node. So you just work your way through. But yeah, I don't know. The Pathfinder system, it works in the Pale Heart. It doesn't work for general vendors. And I feel like Bungie's gonna need to change that in the long run.
I almost feel like we've rounded the corner and we're back to using tokens again, because I have so many engrams for the Pale Heart and for whatever vendors on other destinations that, like, at this point, I'm using the engrams as tokens basically to purchase guns, which is what we were doing in vanilla D2, where we would have a bunch of tokens, you'd hand them in and rank up whoever and get like an engram or whatever. So I'm like, did we just go full circle again? Am I taking crazy pills here?
It's kind of like that. It's weird.
It's a more nuanced version of a token system. I'll say that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's at a state where they can ship it perfectly yet. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to turn the main ritual activities into their own Pathfinders.
Yeah, I would hope
Right?
so.
That will solve the problem.
Yeah, or they're going to get new activities that are the ritual activities. 10
How
years
so?
in, I don't know. 10 years in, we need something that's not, oh, go play a Gambit mission, which we never update. Oh, just kidding. They do update it with a brand new map that came out 6 years ago, which there's a trailer for it. The new
Yeah,
Gambit
you know
map.
what? If they had like a Pathfinder that was dedicated to like old activities, maybe, and they had like the old activities on a rotator. So like this week it's the deep. Not that people love the deep, but you know, you do that activity, you get some Pathfinder things for that. Next week it's Onslaught. Next week it's I don't know. What was that one inside Callus's ship?
Um,
The
the Nightmare?
Menagerie?
Oh, the Menagerie. Oh, that's
Imagine
from
if
a
like
long time ago.
they
Yeah.
rotated things, old things in on like a, you know, you get it every month. You might get it some sort of system. And then that week your Pathfinder is dedicated to like the activity. So it's not completely stale and I'm not stuck here going, "Ugh, I got to play more Crucible or more Gambit." I don't know. I can understand why they probably have had this very same meeting and they're going, this is going to be a real pain in the ass.
I'm 75% on board with the Pathfinder system. As if they do end up updating it, then I think it's a good addition. But if it stays as is, then it's kind of like, well, you should have just kept bounties at this point.
Yes, for sure. In terms of weapons for this, for the final shape, I think these weapons are so overpowered. They've completely taken over all of my. Usually, I hold on to previous guns. My entire loadouts now consist only of the weapons I've gained through this because they are so strong and they feel so good that I haven't looked back.
The
And I
rocket
love
pistol,
the way they feel.
just the rocket sidearm. That's definitely taken over.
It has the highest usage of any gun in Destiny right now.
Yeah, well, for a reason. It feels so good to use, and like, why would you use it? The ammo economy is great for it. You know, it's a great gun.
There's a lot of perks that like help it replenish its ammo and reload it instantly, and you get ammo back. It's crazy how good the sidearm is. I think the sidearm is probably the MVP of this expansion.
Yeah, I've also actually I use the sniper a little bit. I just got it from doing one of
The
the
exotic
ghost things.
sniper?
No, that too, but just the I'm just using the most of the legendary guns right now. The hand cannon that has like the double shot, like kind of like Crimson. That's awesome.
Yep.
I use that for most of the campaign actually, and
It's
the
good.
rocket sidearm feels good. Feels good to shoot. What was it? Still Hunt is it's the golden gun exotic.
I can't remember if that's the name.
I think it's called Still
I've
Hunt.
been using it a lot because it's a secondary. And before that, I only had Black Hammer. What's it called?
Whisper of the Worm.
Whisper. Black Hammer. That's a D1 throwback.
Yeah. That's like OG D1 too.
Yeah, so I had Whisper as a sniper, but it's kind of inconvenient when it's your heavy and it's exotic slot. So I like that it's a secondary in your exotic slot. I don't mind it. And I really like how I feel like you have to get a lot of headshots to proc the special golden gun ability, but it is a nice touch. And I could see it being really strong in DPS phases for bosses. So I'm curious, and I know like hunters are doubling up like crazy.
Oh, they dominated in Salvation's Edge, like the raid days. That was the gun that was used for DPS most of the time.
Yep. So I can see that being a real workhorse, and so I've been using it a lot just to try and get my sniper stuff done, because I swear to God, every activity is like, get sniper kills. You're like, oh God, all right, fine, I will do it. I will get sniper kills. But overall, the guns have been great, and like I said, circling back, Kvastov is on another level. It's going to be my workhorse going forward.
I don't know if you've heard it. Obviously, you know what it sounds like because you have it. But listening to somebody else shoot it, because I was
ricochet bullets.
It sounds. It's like it sounds hilarious.
And things
awesome.
just die. Things are just dying everywhere. You'll like clear a room.
I show up just with my marshmallow gun and everything's already dead. I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, the ricochet bullets put in a lot of work, and so its intrinsic perk is shoot. It has shoot to loot, but so the gun gains a bonus if you shoot orbs, right? So that's why they put shoot to loot on it, so that you can shoot the orbs. And when you shoot an orb and the gun becomes like ultra enhanced, it's just mows dudes down. And it works in Crucible too. And so your teammates are constantly making orbs, and you just, as long as you're cognizant and you're shooting orbs, the gun is a tank. It just mows dudes down, and it's so stable, and it has crazy range. I'm telling you, everybody, there's a reason in Trials it has like 2 million kills last weekend. Like, jeez. Everybody uses it.
Well, I can't wait to get it at some point, whenever that will be. Hopefully soon.
So they wrapped up the story, and we're moving into episodes. How much of the episodes have you played?
I played the first mission and like the second part of that, and then I was trying to do the Enigma protocol, but I was just getting annihilated. I was not high enough. I didn't even realize that it's not like it doesn't bring you up to that level, so I was getting my ass kicked.
I'm at 2,000 now, light level, and I still am like, the red bars are tanks.
Yeah.
You're just unloading on red bars. I'm like, I don't know how people are flying through this activity. However, overall, they changed from seasonal model to episode model. It feels like the seasonal model. I can't tell a difference. I can't tell a difference.
I don't think, to be honest, I don't think there is a difference other than we get one less season. So,
or they're longer.
Yeah, well, they were supposed to be.
They're 4 months. They're 4 months long, right?
Yeah.
See, we get 3 a year, and each is 4 months, and so we get technically an extra month or something. I don't know, something like that. But honestly, the way that they're piecemealing it out again feels very much like, oh, so and so has the thing you retrieved this week. Come back next week to figure out what we're gonna do. You're like, come on.
I think the only change realistically is that they don't want to associate it with the marketing of seasons. So they had to change it to like, oh, it's episodes now. You're like, all right, it's the same, almost exactly the same cadence of content delivery, except now it's just a different name.
And you can see when Act 2 starts and Act 3. So unless, like, in Act 2, something crazy happens where they really make it seem important, as far as I'm concerned, it does not seem very engaging or different.
I'm okay with it being kind of low-key at the moment, though, like, because we just came off of massive expansion, so I'm okay with it, if I get around to it at some point in the next, like, month or two. Fine. Yeah. But the second episode, whatever the one that's called, Heresy or Echo or something like that. That one needs to start picking up the.
Oh yeah, things. They need to show that within the 3 acts of an episode, there is a massive ramp up to a finale that has some sort of great finish, which typically never happened in a season. Because the season always finished on like a cliffhanger or some lead in to what it was happening next. We might get a cutscene at the end, and it was always like, here's a final mission that was okay. So like this needs to be much more contained. And again, we're only in Act 1 of it, so I hope it's going to be more. But they need to really do something substantial to the way they present the story going forward.
Yeah, I think most of the Destiny team was in the kitchen for Final Shape, and then they had one guy in the back making the burgers that were the episodes. So I won't hold it against them for this first one.
Fryer.
Yeah. What do you guys want? You want fries? I'm making fries.
I'm making fries.
And everyone's in the other kitchen making like steak and
gourmet
food.
meals. We need more fries.
Michelin star. Gary's making burgers for us for the wrap party.
All in all, I would say this is their best season ever. And I know you and me have argued about the merits of what's the best, which reminds me, we need to do a Wheel of Games
Destiny edition
for the Destiny expansions, starting with D1.
Yeah. I mean,
however,
I think we can already tell you, everybody here knows that there are 4 things in this list that are going to make that. Anyways, continue.
Sure. I will say that the Final Shape is easily their best ever, in terms of story, presentation, bringing something new, art direction, guns. It pains me that Lance Riddick didn't make it to see this stuff.
Yeah.
Because, to me, this is kind of was his,
payoff.
Ultimate
yeah.
role. He really took the role on more than most video game characters do. I think he is as iconic to Destiny. He is kind of the face of Destiny. Right? And some people are like, it's Nathan Fillion. Well, I don't know. Yeah. I think it's Lance Riddick. So it's a little sad that he didn't get to make it to the end, but Keith David has done a good job. I wouldn't say he filled the role perfectly, but he did a good job. And all in all, though, for me, it's like a 10 out of 10, the entire expansion. Easily Bungie's best.
Right now, it's a 9.5 out of 10 for me because I haven't done the raid, but I already know the raid is going to bump that to 10, so we're just going to go ahead and give it a 10.
We know, I haven't really, aside from Pathfinder, one of the Pathfinder options, and I don't think that's enough for me to, degrade the whole experience, because as a whole, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And I haven't had the drive to sit down and play Destiny and just want to play Destiny all day like I have in years. So, if that's not a selling feature, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Mission accomplished. Joe Blackburn, I would love to know, when he exited and, at what point, at what state the game was finished to that point, because, man, you did a good job, buddy. My hat's off to you. Good job. Let's touch on the raid quickly before we just pop out of here, because that raid race, this was exactly what I wanted from this. I didn't obviously participate, but I watched it over the day it was happening, and the number 1 team was 19 and a half hours, I think was the official.
Yeah.
Which is freaking, that's wild. That's last wish numbers,
and they were miles ahead of second place.
Yeah.
They were hours ahead of second place,
which is crazy. The
average team, they said, was about 25, maybe 26 hours. Dado's team was 29.
Yeah. They took an 8-hour break, which is nuts.
Sure, it's like running a marathon or Tour de France. They don't include the time you're not playing the game. However, and that, go the fuck to bed. That's insane, right? There was that time where the race was going on so long, 30 hours, and people weren't sleeping, and Bungie had to be like, go to bed. It's a game. We get that you love the game, but go to bed. So I'm glad the raid teams have incorporated smart marathon style play, but fuck, man, seriously hard. I'm worried for our raid team.
The whole idea of the main mechanic for most of the raid involves sending and receiving currents.
So
and
much communication.
Oh my god! And you can't have a weak link in this. Everyone's got to be on their game. So, oh boy! All right. Well, looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
Not that we have any weak links in our clan.
No, our
all.
entire team is strong.
Solid. Yeah. We are good to go. Well, I'm looking forward to that big time, but I think we should call it an evening on tonight's episode. I'm super stoked to get into Elden Ring. I'm going to play some more Destiny and hopefully get that gun and not lose all my motes. Be nice.
Good luck.
Yeah. I'm going to say I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in game. Cheers.
Adios.